Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Glory Glory Man United podcast. I'm your host, as always, Nigel Quinn. And joining me today for the first time in a little while is Nigel Duffy. How's it going, Nigel?
Going well, thanks. Nice to be back.
Yeah, and we're currently in the middle of our preseason tour in the US, and United have got off the flyer by beating West Ham 2-1 at the MetLife Stadium in New Rutherford, New Jersey. And apparently United attracted a bigger crowd on the Club World Cup final in the same stadium just 2 weeks previous, featuring the European champions against Chelsea. So it shows you just how popular Man United are, even in the US. Uh, so it was of course, it's only a friendly, but it was a really pleasing performance from what seems to be something close to Amarim's first 11. So the first 11 actually played 67 minutes or so, which was far more than what most people expected. Normally it's only 45 at this stage of pre-season. But Amarim seems to be already settling on his first 11, Nigel.
Yeah, well, it was a different team from the earlier friendly in Stockholm against Leeds. And the most interesting change was that Bruno played beside Casemiro in the first match. So you had two players with a combined age of well over 60. This game against West Ham, he had Ugarte beside Kobe Mainoo. Worked very well, better than last season. Both seemed very, very fit and sharp to me, and meant Bruno could play elsewhere, and he scored the two goals. One, of course, was a penalty, but both goals were the responsibility of their goalkeeper. But we don't care about that. We're looking for goals early as possible, having had a goal difference last season of -10. So it was an auspicious start with Bruno playing further up the field. Mainoo interacted for the goal, the second goal, and spotted Bruno, who chipped it delicately over the keeper. Beautiful goal. The first goal was a goal with the Leeds keeper was to blame because it went into the box. He lost control and then brought uh, our man down and Bruno buried it. So lots of good stuff in the game. They look to be relating, communicating better than last season. So obviously this time away and away from the mass media of Manchester and London, etc. They seem to be enjoying the trip, Kyle.
Yeah, I think it was Aidan Heaven who the West Ham goalkeeper brought down in the penalty area.
That's
Um,
right.
yeah, and a lot of fans were really pleased with. Obviously, Bruno got the two goals and he'll take the headlines, but fans were very, very happy with Kobe Mainoo's performance. He was a man who many fans thought, where does he fit in to Amarim's system? Is he in Amarim's plans? But and he's kind of under pressure to perform when he gets the chance because, as we saw at the back end of last season, he was becoming more of a substitute. Uh, but he played really, really well in this West Ham game, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. But I mean, the biggest game of last season, he was left out of the first 11. He didn't come on to the Europa League final until the 79th minute. Garnacho didn't come on for 70 minutes. So he's prepared to give Mainoo. I mean, the press were speculating that Mainoo might leave and that would get good money in for a player that was reared through the academy, etc. But you and I and lots of fans watching this will know how good Mainoo is, and he certainly should be found a spot there. And if he's been challenged by Amarim to start the pre-season well, he's certainly done that, and everybody's delighted with what he's doing. He's very good in the ball and very good vision.
Yeah, he's a wonderful footballer and a wonderful footballer to watch. Very easy on the eye, and you wouldn't want to lose a player of that quality, especially a local lad. It'd be heartbreaking if he was sold for 50 million and was starring in Chelsea's midfield. I mean, it'd be very, very hard to take as a United fan. But hopefully, we're not going to go down that road. Amarim seems to be saying that Mainoo is part of his plans, and he's playing well in pre-season. So long may that continue. And Ugarte alongside him had a really good game. Like both of us have been critics of Ugarte last season, but I love that wee bit of play where he won the ball back nutmeg someone, and then he laid it off to Ahmad, who slotted it into the far corner. Unfortunately, the offside flag went up, but that was really good play from Ugarte, wasn't it?
That was wonderful, wonderful. Great interaction, and Ahmad didn't touch it, Kyle. He buried it into the corner. That's why it's so unfortunate that was disallowed. I think if VAR had been involved, that could have been one that it could have been ruled on for us. But not to worry. That if that's the sign of things to come, the link play is very encouraging.
And what have you made of Mateus Cunha so far in pre-season?
Um, he's a very good ball player, very strong leader, believes in himself, will take people on, not afraid. I didn't see him pass the ball back once. Saw him led out right and left to different people. And there was one in the Leeds game, he was about to have a swing at it, and GDOB had a shot with his left foot, which went well wide. And Cunha just had a quiet young word with the young fella that he had shouted for the ball, but obviously the guy didn't hear it. But Cunha is, oh, there's lots. He's a wonderful footballer. Look forward to seeing him a lot.
Yeah, I think he's very good with his back to goal, and he's good at marauding runs, taking the ball past people. And we've seen him do that to us at Old Trafford for Wolves in the opening day of the season a couple of years ago. I know Nana should have given away that penalty. Uh, Kuna absolutely tore us to shreds that night, and somehow we managed to win the game with a goal from Varane. But we were totally outplayed by Wolves that night, and it was largely down to him and how good he was. So it's good to have him on our side. We don't need to worry about playing against him anymore now that he's one of us.
No,
Uh,
no, he'll win a lot of free kicks for us, and with he may let Bruno, being the captain, take the free kicks for a while. But if Bruno's not stepping up, I can see Cunha taking free kicks from his own his own fouls won.
yeah, I've noticed in pre-season he's been winning a lot of fouls. That's quite a compliment to a player that opposition players feel the need to take him down so often. You obviously see him as a major threat. So just looking at the 11 as I talked about, so I would say eight of that might start against Arsenal. Now, the goalkeeper might be different, be it Onana coming back in or a new player being signed. And the striker might be different if we manage to get someone in there. And obviously, Mambumo will eventually come into the 11. He's behind in terms of his match fitness because Brentford started their preseason a week later than us, and he didn't uh, take part in their preseason at all, apart from gym work. So he's a little bit behind. He's not expected to feature in the next friendly, but the one after that, the final US Tour game, I think Amram said he's going to play in that one. So he probably get 45 or something in that game. So the question is, when Mbumo comes in to play at number 10, as we expect, alongside Kuna, Bruno, the captain, will probably drop back into midfield. So who's going to lose out between Kobe and Ugarte? And I suppose this is what you want as a manager. You want to have selection dilemmas. You want to have options. So Ahmad, as many people expected, is playing on the right, Dorgu on the left.
Yeah.
Um, and obviously the back three is Yarrow, Delict, and Heaven. Martinez would probably challenge Heaven once he comes back in. Interesting that Maguire doesn't seem to be part of the first 11 at present. Um, yeah, so I would say eight of those players are starting against Arsenal. Just question marks over the goalkeeper situation, the striker situation, and obviously Mbeumo will definitely come into the side. So he seems to be forming the basis of his first 11 now.
Yeah, that looks very strong to me. But I have to say, having watched the two games so far, Lenny Euro by far has been the best player on the pitch in both games. Absolutely so composed, slotting in, reading the game superbly, and slotting balls. I saw one from right to left, 30 yards straight to our player's feet. Forget who the player was, but absolutely marvellous. And as you often say, if Madrid were in form, they knew the quality that was there, and that's why they were looking for the player. But great start. Can't wait to see him. I hope Kylie has an injury-free season, more or less, and becomes ingrained for the next few years in that position because he looks a superb prospect to me. And we haven't said that much about any player over the last 4 or 5 years, you know.
Yeah, that was quite a coup, United getting him. I know that I think Rio Ferdinand played a role in that, and I didn't expect it. Once I heard Madrid were interested. I fully expected him to go to Los Blancos. I didn't think that we would see him at Old Trafford, but thankfully we have, and we need to be, matching his ability. We don't want to be in a situation where we're still an average team in a couple of years' time, and then he's getting offers from Madrid and Barcelona. We don't want to. We need to improve and improve quickly. He needs to be playing with a team that he deserves to play with. Um, so we do have a number of quality players that I'm really happy with, like Yoro and Mainoo and Bruno and Kuna and Mambumo and Diallo, but there are obviously still question marks about the left wing area with Patrick Dorgu, obviously number nine, and the goalkeeper. There are major question marks that need solved.
Yeah, well, the goalkeeper really is a headache because that guy. Uh, and Anna, most people talking on your podcast, we all agree that he's just a suspect. He hasn't the quality we need as a top class goalkeeper. And as we often say, the back four want an established goalkeeper playing behind them that they can build up a relationship over the season and start conceding very few, especially at home. And you could be scoring goals at the other end, and this guy could be throwing ones in or kicking it into touch and losing our thread of the game and all the interaction between the players. So that's really an area that must be solved quickly, Kyle.
Yeah, according to Fabrizio Romano, United made a loan inquiry for Martinez, the Argentine keeper. That was rebuffed because Aston Villa want a large fee for the player, but I'm not interested in that. I don't like him as a character, and I don't think he's worth 40 million pounds at 33 years old. I just wouldn't go there. I must prefer the link to the Royal Antwerp keeper, uh, Sene Lamens, and since I was last on, I was saying about the amazing statistics to do with his shot saving last season, and he saved the most shots in the world apparently last season. He prevented the most goals, and I said that he had saved four out of his six penalties. He's now the Belgian Pro League just started there at the weekend, and he saved yet another penalty. And so that's he saved five of his last seven penalties, Nigel. And what are we waiting for? If he's less than 20 million, we have to get this done.
Yeah, it's remarkable. And he's a very good age, isn't he? I mean, he's going to come into the Premier League and learn his stuff. And if we're starting to build a strong team and he could be a rock in the team, yeah, I certainly would get that over the line if it's possible. But you know what United are like? It takes so long to get anything done, it appears to me and a lot of fans.
Yeah, it's extremely frustrating when it comes to transfer market for United. They've got the two main players that they wanted, so now they're probably relying on getting people out the door. So far Rashford has gone on loan to Barcelona, and they have an option to buy him for 30 million euros next June, and I think that's deliberately a low fee to try and entice Barcelona to take that offer up. Uh, Obviously Garnacho and Sancho and Anthony, who's still yet to agree transfers abroad, and uh, potential Saudi interest in Anthony. They paid big money for that another player just recently, and for I think it's 45 million or something. So I wouldn't mind them throwing that in our direction to get Anthony. I think it's the team that Ronaldo plays for.
I
Now,
mean, I know that, yeah.
so that would be great if we could if he's willing to go there and we get an offer from them, because I've been I think Brush has brought this up as well. It's frustrating that other Premier League clubs are able to sell players to the Saudi Pro League and get lots of money, but we haven't been able to sell anyone in their direction, and it's frustrating. We want to get access to those funds and help us out with getting rid of people and obviously funding the moves that we want to make in the market. So it'd be great if deals could be done for Anthony Sancho and Garnacho soon. But as the manager said in the recent press conference, um, he says clubs, they're trying to wait to the end of the window so they can get a bargain. But he says United are prepared to reintegrate these players into the squad. Now, I don't believe him when he says that. I think that's just a negotiating position, because I do believe he's right that other clubs are just waiting to the last week of the window, knowing that United are desperate to sell and they think they can get a bargain.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. But I'd say that Amarim's been told by the board that that's the position that has to be put out there. But it does seem frustrating. You want to get them, you want to get new players integrated as quickly as possible, and then the older players, as you say, out the door because they're past age. Us, they've done some of them very little indeed, and they leave a bad smell in the dressing room. They're so full of their own personal ambition and don't fit into a team ethos, Kyle. So yeah, as we always say, let's get rid of the dross. It's dragging on too far.
Yeah, they've not been invited on the preseason tour, and I think that speaks volumes. And in the past, we have brought players on tour who are wantaways or the manager wants rid of, and I don't think that, as you say, it's not good for the dressing room to be bringing players on tour when the manager wants them out or they want to leave. It's not good for morale. So I think it's the right call to leave them behind. And so hopefully, United can get these players out the door because I don't believe for 1 second that Amram wants to reintegrate these players. So they could be key to us getting a goalkeeper and a striker. Um, so that brings me on to some transfer news today, and it's that Fabrizio Romano says there's a battle going on between Newcastle and Man United for Benjamin Sesko, the RB Leipzig striker who's 22 years old. United are presenting their project to Sesko, and Newcastle have done likewise. But the problem is that RB Leipzig are wanting somewhere between 70 million euros and 80 million euros. He has scored 21 goals last season for Leipzig, and he got 18 the season before, and he got 18 for Salzburg the season before that. So he seems to be progressing nicely in terms of his numbers, but it's going to be a large fee. He's by no means a finished article. He's someone that United I think have been tracking for at least 3 years now, and he's been doing well in Germany. So it would still represent a little bit of a risk, given his age, but he's certainly someone with a lot of potential. But it is worth pointing out the distinction between him and Hoyland is that his goal record is far more impressive than what Hoyland's was in Italy before he came to United, and he's had a lot more development than Hoyland. But still an element of risk. I certainly wouldn't want to be paying too hefty a fee, Nigel.
No, well, the danger of that is you see Newcastle have the offer of the Champions League. I mean, quite maybe 7 players out of 10 who have ambition to play in Europe's top league would choose Newcastle over United. I don't want another one of these guys simply coming for the money, as it say, his age is a factor. And if he really wants to prove himself in Europe, he would go to Newcastle. So the question has to be asked, and we've fallen it before with people like Sanchez. They're just coming for the money and not for the club. So as you say, there's a big danger there, and they need to be very careful about that particular player.
Well, Newcastle were interested in Brian Mbeumo, and he turned them down to come to Man United, and he had offers from several Champions League clubs. So these players sometimes th- they want to go to United because that's the club that they know. They know it's a massive team. It's the biggest club in England, and they're not sure if Newcastle are going to be in the Champions League from one season to the next. I suppose that's the same with United. But United are, you know, a massive club with big ambitions, and Newcastle have really struggled in the transfer market this summer. A lot of their targets have gone elsewhere. You know, not just Mbeumo, but other players that they wanted have gone to Arsenal and Liverpool, and now Isaac wants out. He wants to go to Liverpool. So even though Newcastle are in the Champions League, they still seem to be far down the food chain in the Premier League when it comes to attracting players. They've had an awful window. They're not getting anybody. So if they manage to get Sesko, they probably want to, you know, put that out there as a win over Man United because it's not been going too well for them in this window. In fact, they they've lost. They wanted the goalkeeper James Trafford from Burnley, and he's gone to Man City as well. So now they're looking for Owen Ramsdale, and the Newcastle fans are not too pleased about that one.
No,
Um, so it would be even more humiliating if Benjamin Sesko went to Man United.
it would. It would. Yeah. Yeah. But it's going
Um,
to be big money, as you admit now, and we have to find that money before he becomes a factor, you know.
yeah, United, like, they want to be selling Garnacho and Anthony, at least one of those before they can make this move. I would have thought Garnacho should be bringing in at least £50 million, given his age and his potential. Uh, Anthony has done his valuation no harm. You're probably looking at maybe 30 million. And Sancho would just take whatever we can get for him. We just about getting him off the books. I would accept anything that Juventus or Napoli, whatever they're willing to pay. There were strong links to Juventus in recent weeks, but I know that David Ornstein is very reliable on transfer. Says he's heard absolutely nothing about that. He doesn't know where that's come from, and so it's proved because nothing has happened there. Um,
Yeah. Well, personally, I can't see any club with any sense taking on the gamble that is Jadon Sancho. He's just a man totally devoid of principle or loyalty. It all seems to be about pounds, shillings, and pence. The guy just, but I mean, we're desperate to get rid of him. But whether at the end of the day we just have to pay him off and he goes, there's no substantive bid that I can see from Sancho. There's rumor and counter rumor. But if the good quality journalists are saying they haven't heard any interest in him, that doesn't surprise me. Does it surprise you?
no, absolutely not. Definitely, there'll be no interest on a player who is flattered to deceive in the last few years. Didn't set the world alight during his loan spell at Chelsea or Borussia Dortmund the year before, and he's fallen out where managers, um, he's contradicting managers on social media. He wants a payoff before he'll agree to leave. You've even had a situation where Chelsea have literally paid United 5 million not to sign him. I mean, his stock couldn't be lower at the moment.
No.
But he's prioritizing getting the last year of his contract paid up in full over his career. Does not just tell you everything you need to know.
It does. It does. The tragedy is that he's still at a good age, hasn't reached his peak yet as a footballer. He's just wasting his entire career. Bit like Ravel Morrison, just it didn't happen for him and he lost control of the direction of travel he wanted to go as a footballer. And Sancho just appears to think about money and nothing else, which is terribly sad. What a waste.
Mm, uh, I fully expect a situation where somebody will take him on, and they'll pay United maybe somewhere between 15 and 20 million euros, and United will have to pay him 5 million to go, because he'll be on a reduced salary, no doubt, at his next club. So that could rumble on to the final days of August, unfortunately. But yeah, Aston Villa apparently interested in Garnacho. Chelsea have a long-standing interest there, but yet to make their moves. Yeah, I think the likelihood is that teams are waiting to the end of the window to try and get a bargain on these players. Uh, we kind of need to get the money in order to get the targets that we need. We need a goalkeeper, as we've said. We need a striker and another midfielder. And just a wee bit of news from Samuel Luckhurst in the last hour or two. And he says that Man United are planning to loan out Toby Collier, which would pave the way for a new midfield signing. Now, I know United have been frustrated in their efforts to find a club for Casemiro, who's 1 year left on his contract. And again, I think he's probably the highest paid player at the club. And United
Yeah.
have been desperate to shift him, but can't find any takers at the moment. So, in order to make space for a new midfielder, Toby Collier's going out on loan, and I have to say that really disappoints me, Nigel.
No, it disappoints me too. I mean, if he's been involved in the first two games and he's been a presence there and didn't lose the ball at all. He gives it out right and left and seems confident on the ball. Made it clear the opposite of Sancho that he wants to make a career for himself at United. He's always loved the club. You could see with the enthusiasm the way he plays the game, and it's very sad that that's going to be. I mean, it's bit like Jimmy Garner when he left. I couldn't believe that he left the club at that stage. But managers make decisions, and that's what they're paid for. But it wouldn't be mine. I don't know if a lot of fans would agree with that departure. If he goes on loan, he'll never come back.
Yeah, there's not many players who go on loan to the Championship or Premier League and then or La Liga, whatever it is, and then come back and play for the first team. There's very, very few examples of that.
David
And
Beckham was one years ago,
yeah,
depressing you. Yeah.
yeah. But in recent times, I can't think of too
Yeah.
many now at all.
Mhm.
I mean, Alvaro Fernandez. What did we loan him out to Benfica? Um,
That was a disaster. I remember seeing a lot of him in the under 18s and then the under 21s, and he was going up and down that wing, and just Ten Hag didn't fancy him, and Ten Hag has a lot to answer for the people he bought and the people he got rid of.
yeah, as I said, he went to I think he went Granada initially on loan, then Benfica, and Benfica then bought him, and they have now sold him to Real Madrid for 15 million euros. So Ten Hag was playing Amrabat, Lindelof,
Yeah,
Dallo, all these people at left back who weren't left backs, and he had
no,
Alvaro available to him and wouldn't use him. Regulon, that was another one. Got
yeah,
him on loan, and he's now proved himself, and now he's going to play for Real Madrid's first team. That just shows you just how wrong Ten Hag was, but sure, he'd been wrong about an awful lot of things.
he
Um,
was.
and he won't
But
even.
you're referring to the goalkeeper problem. When we're on that topic, let's remember Ollie's decision, the way he treated the goalkeeper, and he went to Crystal Palace. Yeah, what do you call him?
Dean Henderson.
Dean Henderson, that he made a promise to the player. And if managers have integrity and if the guy was promised his chance, COVID intervened and he never got a chance. And we've had disasters with goalkeeping since that happened. And Dean Henderson's come on to prove himself as he said he would to be a very good Premier League goalkeeper. What do you think?
Yeah, I thought he was fantastic in the FA Cup final against Man City. Played a key role in them winning that trophy. Although he was fortunate to get away with a handball just outside the box,
Yeah.
which Guardiola was crying about. I don't think there was much sympathy for Manchester City in amongst any of the other football fans in England.
No,
Um, but yeah, he saved a penalty in that game, and he done really well, and he deserved to win that trophy, Crystal Palace's first ever trophy, and the sorry state of our goalkeeping situation now compared to where it was a few years ago. We had De Gea and Henderson fighting for the number one spot, as you said, under Solskjaer. Now we have two duds, to be honest.
yeah.
Neither of them are good enough to be United's number one. And Dean Henderson would walk into our team now. And
Absolutely, but I have no doubt about that. I mean, the goalkeepers it's a different, obviously, it's a different position from anywhere else on the pitch. Some goalkeepers are supremely self-confident, Kyle, and Henderson was that guy, and he took his time and waited his time and was told he was going to be given finally his opportunity, and they let him down the personal basis. And as you say, we're suffering from it from now on.
yeah, I think what happened was Dean Henderson was going to start the season as number one as promised, but he got COVID, and then he had to isolate, and then he was uh, De Gea ended up starting the season, and because De Gea played well, Solskjaer then kept him in the team. Dean Henderson was back fit again and told that no, you're not going to be the number one now. So yeah, he didn't stick to his promise there. And we massively lost out because he ended up getting it's only 20 million or something that he went to Palace for in the end.
Yeah,
And he was so pissed off. He did that interview with Talk Sport, and he's criticizing the club and everything. So I can understand his frustration. But how did we go from De Gea and Henderson to Onana and Bayindir? How did it get so bad?
well, it's the judgment of the people who sign them is just has to be called into question. It's amazing some of the duds we have bought post Ferguson. It's and then we can't get rid of them because they shouldn't have been bought in the first place by a club of our stature, and then nobody wants to buy them, so they're just languaging in a squad of 25, getting big money for doing little, and they don't seem to care whether they're playing or not playing. It's ridiculous. And look at Anthony, how long he played for Ten Hag when he clearly wasn't Premier League level. And Ten Hag seemed to give him chance after chance after chance, while other people could have been given an opportunity.
And Ten Hag won't even do us a favour by bringing some of these players with him to Bayer Leverkusen. I read a quote from him where he said that um, he likes Anthony and he signed him twice as a player, but he'll not be bringing him to Bayer Leverkusen at this time. Which was, when you read the start of the quote, you're getting excited and then you're massively disappointed by what he said in the end. And some United fans were chuckling when they seen Bayer Leverkusen's pre-season fixture against the Flamingo under 20s and they lost 5-1. Uh, we've we've been on the receiving end of some score lines like that with Ten Hag in charge. So Bayer Leverkusen fans are sure getting a taste of it now.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Well, they can enjoy it. Over to them.
it yeah, when it seems to be when it goes bad under Ten Hag, it's really bad. Do you remember under him our midfield was just wide open and there was no midfield at all. They were like pushed away up the pitch, and there's a big gap between the midfield and the defense, and teams are just exploiting that again and again and again. Uh, so yeah, I think I've met one fan who said that he was sad for Ten Hag to leave and he should never have been sacked, but that's just one person. No one else I know is sad about the Ten Hag left. Um, but things have got worse since he left. To be honest, we went from finishing eighth to finishing 15th. So, but I would blame the hierarchy for that, and mostly because they didn't have the squad to play the current formation which we play, and they made the change in November in the middle of the season, and they
Yeah,
didn't bring many players in January, so it wasn't going to work out. You don't have the squad for a back three system. You're not going to win many games, but I suppose we didn't really think it'd be as bad as what it was. I think we
no,
only, since Aram came in November, I think we won about 6 or 7 Premier League matches, and I think
yeah.
3 of those were against the bottom three. So it was absolutely appalling, really.
Well,
But
soul destroying, yeah. But some of us, if you recall, didn't go with a hierarchy that said that Ten Hag should stay after they won the FA Cup final. Many of us thought at that time he'd had his chance. That in a one-off game, like the European League final was a one-off game. That's why I was so disappointed in the judgment of Amram as manager, not to throw the hell and the sink at that game because of what it meant to the club in the long term. But he was far too laid back in that game. And as I've already talked about, Garnacho in 70 minutes and Mainoo in 79 minutes is far too late to bring on if you want players who can change a game to come on and change the game. But it's gone now. Let's see what he does now. He has no European football this season. He has all the time in the world to train people between one Saturday and the following Monday the next week. 9 days perhaps between games. So he has to get them up for every single game. And let's start winning at Old Trafford. Scoring goals, Kyle, that must change people's confidence and drive and conviction and the fans getting up again and the singing starting because it really, really became so depressing, didn't it, at the end of last season?
yeah, he oversaw our worst season in 51 years, so he's going to be under massive pressure to improve things next season. You know, like if we start the season off badly, he's going to be under huge pressure. I mean, and he's got the top four from last season in the first 8 games.
Mhm.
So he's going to need some big results there. If he could start off the season with a win against Arsenal at home, then the positivity will go up tenfold, and the United fans will be really looking forward to the season ahead. But if we go and get battered at home to Arsenal, then we're back to square one again, aren't we?
Yeah, yeah. Well, the reality is that when we finished 15th and didn't qualify for any European competition, look what the top four, six clubs have done in the transfer market already. It is frightening when you consider the gap in points between 15th and the top six. So we really need to get going very quickly and scoring goals. It's the depth of goals and then all the pressure on the defence last season. And as you say, there was no midfield at all. And I have to say, having watched the early games pre-season, Casemiro and Luke Shaw really are off the pace, Kyle. You couldn't count them as being in your 25 for this season because I mean, the manager's trying to build up Shaw. Maybe he's heard Shaw say that he might leave and he might go to Saudi Arabia and they want more money for him. But you can be the most experienced footballer in the world. Look what Casemiro did in Spain. But he can't run. He can't keep up. You know, his legs have gone and everybody knows it. So that's why the combination of age, what would have been Ugarte 24 and Mainoo 20, so 40. So it's about 20 years younger in the second game. And boy, they played well together. So that's where he has to look for young players with ambition, young legs, and get the team driving forward again.
Yeah, with only one game a week for most of the season, I don't see where Casemiro is going to get any game time. So and we've seen in the last couple of years that he struggles against Premier League opposition. Did well against European opposition until we got to the final and played a Premier League team again, and then he looked off the pace again. So and he's going to be another year older in this coming season, so I don't think it's going to get any better. But this is the last year of his contract, and he likes life in Manchester. He's settled with his family, so he's not going to leave, it seems. I thought Ronaldo might be able to entice his mate to come and play with him in Saudi Arabia, but that hasn't materialized. He's back in the Brazil squad because Ancelotti and him were together at Real Madrid, so they have a good relationship. But I don't see him getting much games for United this
Oh,
season.
no, definitely not. But I mean, between the Arsenal games on the 19th of August, all the games between the 19th of August and 7 p.m. on the 1st of September when the window closes, maybe if he's not involved at all in the early games, it might piss him off. And that could happen very quickly at the end. That's my best hope for the departure, if possible, of Casemiro.
Yeah, it could well happen, but I've heard that United have tried to use intermediaries to drum up interest, but nothing has come of it. Doesn't seem to be too many people keen on a signature. You would have thought that maybe an MLS team or a Saudi team or maybe somebody in Turkey or would have come in for him, but nothing has happened. Maybe they're just totally put off by the wages and all that, and they've witnessed his decline. They've seen it on TV.
Yeah.
But
Maybe he needs the wages, does he?
no,
I wouldn't
I
have
wouldn't
thought
have,
so.
no, I wouldn't have thought so. I haven't played most of his career at Real Madrid and been at United for 3 years. He on that salary, I don't think he's struggling. I don't think he'd be
Yeah,
going poor anytime soon.
no, I don't think so.
But it's another. And is it because we can't move Casemiro on that Toby Collier's now going to go out on loan? No, that's really setting us back.
But, I didn't hear that until you said that tonight. I hadn't heard. Look, I'd say that, but I find that very disappointing, especially on the strength of what I've seen in the early games. But he is 22 now, so he's going to have to get a career somewhere. But he was. I saw him interviewed in MUTV, and he wanted this season to be his season where he did get a chance to break into the first team or at least be in the squad every week. He'd no intention of leaving the club on loan, but maybe he's been told to go, and that's it.
Yeah, I thought that he has been very competent anytime I've seen him. One game that really sticks out is Fulham away, which he won with Martinez's deflected effort. And Toby Collier headed the ball off the line to deny Fulham an equaliser. Remember that? And
That's right. Yeah, yeah,
he's looked very competent in midfield as well. He's quick. He's good in the tackle. He's a decent passer of the ball, and brings energy to the team. I remember the FA Cup game against Arsenal at the Emirates when we won on penalties with 10 when we're down to 10 men and when Dallo was sent off, and
yeah.
Collier came on when we we're 10 men, and he was brilliant.
Yeah,
He
he intervenes. He wins the ball and he gives it cleverly right or left. Doesn't give it away. So many good players that we were so frustrated last year by players we thought were better than they were, and they're just giving it away and then not chasing back, not running it. Collier always went back and tried to help the defence out and worked hard, but it just doesn't seem to got through to Amarin that.
Yeah, it'd be very unfortunate that we're getting rid of Collier to make space for a new midfielder rather than Casemiro, who probably even Amram would prefer to move on. But that's the situation that we're in because of the crazy transfer fees and wages that were forked out by Richard Arnold and Ed Woodward. We're still paying the price for that absolutely incompetent regime that didn't have a clue what they were doing. Two bankers slash accountants that were in charge of the football club, and the Casemiro situation and the Sancho situation are just examples of horrendously bad business that they did.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. Yeah,
uh, but we look forward to the future with optimism because we've got two players in Kuna and Mambumo who we hope are going to bring goals to the team and assists to the team as well. We're going to see them link up well with the likes of Bruno and Ahmad, and hopefully a new striker because Hoyland's really struggling out there. He's not he's not looked any better in pre-season than what he did at the back end of last season. His confidence is totally gone to me, and Chidi Obi looks like a better player, and even though he's only a kid, he looks
yeah,
like a more competent striker. So, and he's at 4 years younger than Hoyland, so that's not great. Now, if you remember on the post-season tour, Hoyland was struggling to control the ball. The ball was hitting off his shins, and he was losing it in the penalty area. Whereas
yeah.
in Chidi Obi played against Hong Kong and scored two really good goals and looks a more competent striker. Yes, he still has to learn Cheeto because, as you said, rather than letting Kuna shoot, he instinctively took on the shot himself as a striker. He was, strikers are often selfish, but Kuna was probably is the more senior player and should have let him take on the effort. So he'll learn, but he looks. Despite the fact that he's 17 and Hoyland's 21, he looks a better player, and that's
He does.
shocking.
He's more instinctive as a striker. He gets into the positions where you expect strikers to get. Hoyland always looks out of place and unhappy to me. He just doesn't seem to read the game. He's not there if the ball comes off the keeper or for the top end of the ball comes off the post. While Cheeto scored lots of goals at junior level and he's moving into the man's game now, and it'll take him a while. But I thought he put on a bit of beef there. He looked uh, well rounded, is the way I would put it, and he certainly doesn't seem. He seems to get on. Apparently, he trains very well with the squad, so he's not overawed. So time will tell, but he's a useful guy to have in the squad, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I would love to see him come off the bench in Premier League games and get equalizers or winners, and I would really bring him on. And in his career, we've seen him come on last season, didn't quite get it. He was very good when he came on against Fulham. At least he was working the goalkeeper, but he hasn't managed to score yet. So I like in a competitive fixture, I really like to see him do that and get off the ground. I love when yeah, I love when young players, come off the bench and score. Remember Makeda, all those years ago, and the impact that he had from the bench as a young player. I would like to see Tito obviously do that, but obviously have a long time career at Old Trafford. But yeah, uh, still waiting for him to get off the mark, and hopefully he's able to do that next season. He's obviously not going to be the first choice because it's too early in his career for that. So um, if he's second or third choice, it'll be good for him. Obviously not League Cup games. He can start those for sure. I wouldn't mind him playing in those. Hopefully he can get goals. If he's playing against a lower league opposition, in the third round, we're going to be in the second round of the League Cup, by the way, because we're not in Europe. So we have a game in August in the League Cup for the
Yeah.
first time in about 11 years. So he might even start that game depending on the
Yeah,
opposition.
you might do. Yeah. The other thing about the West Ham friendly, Kyle, was two corners were interesting. Bruno obviously taking them. Uh, One Heaven came in and just missed with a very good header, and the next one about 10 minutes later didn't go into the went outside the box to Ahmad, who had a shot. So obviously they're taking the opportunity to try things and try new things. We were always saying that United were so predictable that there was no variety in the corners. But that's a good sign for what will happen in the Premier League starting in August if they can give a bit of variety. I didn't see any corners from the other side of the pitch, but it gives you a bit of hope that they're working on things, and that's what they should be doing pre-season.
Yeah, that's pleasing. It's nice to see that they're working on new things. They're being innovative and not being predictable. So hopefully some of this comes off in the games that really matter. Um, so yeah, I'd be happy if we don't lose to Arsenal in the first game. It'd be great if we could win. Um, in recent years at Old Trafford, we have been able to beat them against the odds, or at least put in a performance like we did last season when Bruno scored the free kick. Declan Rice obviously equalised with a brilliant shot, but I thought United played well in that game. In fact, under Amram, we've done well in the big games in general. We should have won at Anfield. Maguire put the ball over the bar for the last kick of the match
Remember that? Yeah,
when it was 2 each. We won against City and Ahmad scored the winner. Yeah, and we drew at home to Arsenal, and I think we drew at home to Chelsea, I think as well, and we should have won that game. I felt so. Under Ten Hag, we were getting battered in some of these games against the top four sides, but in fairness, Amram, he's beaten the top three. He was getting good performances against the top four, but in all the other games, we were losing them. That was the problem.
absolutely, absolutely. Well, the old adage in football that goals change games, and let's look positively to the 19th of August. If United, in front of a packed house with two, possibly, hopefully three, maybe four new additions to the squad that was so poor last season, if we got an early goal and the crowd got behind us, you never ever know. So it's a new season, a new blood, but it's the goals that need to start going in because you can hear the crowd reaction when somebody say Hoyland misses a sitter or hits the post from 2 yards out, and it's very frustrating. But if United score first against Arsenal, let's see, put it up to them, and then get physically everybody marking their man and committed for 90 minutes. That's what we want, and we'll build from there, Kyle.
No, we got 44 goals last season. We want to be bringing that up to 74 this season at least. You know,
Absolutely, without a
that,
doubt.
that would be a marked improvement. As you used to say, we would get 100 goals under Ferguson when we were at our peak. But
Yeah.
we'll sell for 75 for now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And if you're scoring that many goals, you're taking pressure off the back players because the ball's up on the other end of the pitch, obviously, when you're on top in games and scoring goals. So it's an all round thing that'll help player morale and self belief. A lot of those players at the end of last season, the matches were coming quickly and there was no hope of us getting a home win. Do you remember? And it was just disastrous. But let's start well against Arsenal and get a few goals in the first few games and build on it.
Yeah, 100%. We want to start the season off strongly, and we don't want to be starting the season with a defeat. That'll just, you know, the confidence will be knocked by that. If we can, you just want to get a positive result against Arsenal, even if it's not a win. As long as we
Mm,
don't lose that game, then it'll be a positive result, and then we can go in to the Fulham game with confidence and get a result there. And then we should obviously be looking to get maximum points against Burnley at home. So yeah, I would love to beat Arsenal in the first game, but if it was a draw, I wouldn't complain because they're one of the top teams in the Premier League, and they've added additions, and including Victor Gyökeres up front. Um,
yeah,
he'd be looking to get off to a flyer in the Premier League. So he basically turned down Man United to go to Arsenal. So as fate would have it, he's playing against United in his opening game. So we'll have to keep him quiet and not let him get off to a flyer in his Arsenal career. I mean that's crucial.
no doubt.
But we, we need to get a striker of our own. We can't have a situation where Onana starting against Arsenal and Hoyland starting against Arsenal
No,
because, as I've said many times, it wouldn't matter if our front three was Maradona, Zidane, and Ronaldo. Um, you can't outscore your own goalkeeper. You would have to score 4 goals every match to win games with Onana in goal because you just don't know what he's capable of from one minute to the next. I just don't trust him. Um, and obviously Hoyland up front, he's just shot to pieces. He's the wrong guy at the wrong time for United. You bring in a young striker to be a backup to Harry Kane or someone like that. You don't bring him in to be your first choice striker at such a young age with such an average goal scoring record. They've ruined the guy, and I think
yeah,
he's past the point of no return now.
yeah, and it showed in these two games that I've seen already. His confidence is shot. He just doesn't know. what he's got, how he's going to get out of it, how he's going to score a goal. He's got that look about him as, well, am I ever going to score? We want a centre forward there that expects to get 20 goals a season, playing for one of the top teams in the one of the top stadiums. And he's out in a limb. He really, if Juventus or whoever could come in and offer some sort of thing, I think it would be in the club's and his own best interest if he left the football club.
Yeah, I think it would be in his best interest to go back to Serie A where he still has a reputation and hopefully can get a decent fee for him. But uh, I suppose if we do bring in Benjamin Sesko or someone like that, then he get the matches and think, well, I'm never going to play any football now when we only have one game
Yeah.
a week. So I'll have to go back to Serie A if there's offers on the table. So wait and see how it goes. Well, Nigel, it's been a pleasure as always having you on.
No, nice to be back, Kyle. Enjoyed it.
Please, everybody, subscribe to the podcast. Drop us a like if you're watching on YouTube and get lots of your comments in, and I will reply to many of those. And I'll see you again next time, Nigel.
Yes, look forward to it. Take care.